Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Committee Reads. I am your host KWCEs, and with me today I have GVR, Alex, Birdman, and Nagoda. And today we will be going over KWCE number 26, Godzilla Shin vs. Carcagne, aka the Giant Claw.
Is I pronounce it?
Carcagne, I believe. It should be Spanish, so... I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know.
I don't think you're saying that right.
Probably not, but I'm going to run with it. Carcagne. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. By Venom 2009. The deserted planet, a world that had been abandoned by its original inhabitants for thousands of years. Hovering amidst the crimson sky were giant metallic spheres and an upside-down pyramid with an eyeball on each of its edges. While the planet may have been abandoned, there were two gargantuan abominations that now resided on this hollow world. One of the monsters was from Earth, a nightmarish freak who echoed traits of dinosaurs of ages past. It was known on its homeworld as Godzilla. The other monster was a giant bird born from an antimatter galaxy, a galaxy-soaring fowl who roamed across the cosmic landscape. Though it was known by many names, the one-time visit on Earth granted the name of Carcagne. It would seem some unknown force had brought these two monsters to the deserted planet. Carcagne sat atop the corroded building, glaring at Godzilla with anger in her eyes, while Godzilla himself, standing on the street, looked back at the giant bird with unnerving indifference. However, Godzilla let loose a roar at Carcagne. She responded in kind with a roar back at the Saurus. Carcagne made the first move as she flew off the building and made her way towards Godzilla to attack him. However, Godzilla spun around and used his tail to hit the oncoming space fowl. Carcagne screamed in pain as she was sent skipping across the ground until she stopped on her back. Godzilla roared as he marched towards Carcagne while the winged monster was down. When Godzilla got close to Carcagne, the giant bird flew up to Godzilla's head. With Carcagne close to Godzilla, she used her talons to attack Godzilla's face. Lucky for Godzilla, he was able to shield his eyes with a thick protective membrane layer to keep his eyeballs from being damaged by her talons. However, the same couldn't be said for Godzilla's head, as the talons were cutting up his face. Godzilla boomed a roar as he tried to back away, only for Carcagne to press her advances, continually slashing his face. Pass.
Godzilla used his mouth and bit into one of Carcagne's talons, a large bird of prey releasing an unearthly shrill. She used her wings to beat against Godzilla's face, trying to get him to let go of her talon, but Godzilla did his best to ignore the beating to his face. Godzilla began to shake his head and toss Carcagne around like a dog with a chew toy. Carcagne activated her antimatter shield, which covered her whole body and got her talon free, as the force field forced Godzilla to open his mouth. Godzilla could only look on as the bird was freed from his jaws. Before Carcagne could attack Godzilla again, the inside of Godzilla's mouth lit up with a purple hue, along with the fins on his back, as the bottom of his jaw split up. Godzilla released a large cloud of smoke from his mouth, all with enough force to shove Carcagne away from him. Carcagne crashed to the ground, in which her shield dissipated. Godzilla kept on spewing out smoke from his mouth as the black cloud was spreading across the ruined city. After Carcagne stood up from the smoke-covered ground, she saw what came out next out of Godzilla's mouth, a wave of fire. The fire spread across the area and was burning everything in its path. Carcagne's shriek echoed across the fiery landscape as it seemed she was engulfed by the fire. Soon the area had become a sea of fire with Godzilla in the middle of it. Godzilla ceased his flames as his bottom jaw closed together. Godzilla only stared at the burning land, waiting to see if his opponent was still alive. That answer came in the form of Carcagne flying out from the sea of fire and quickly found herself back up in the air again. Godzilla was locked eyes on her, seeing that Carcagne had survived and was not burned at all. At the last possible second, Carcagne had used her antimatter shield to protect her from getting burned to death. After Carcagne deactivated the antimatter shield, she flew towards Godzilla with haste. Next thing he knew, Carcagne flamed against his body and he fell to the flaming ground. Carcagne flew higher into the air and turned around to look down at Godzilla. Godzilla got up from the burning ground unfazed from his own fire. The mutant dinosaur looked up at Carcagne. Once again, Godzilla's jaw split open as his fins and mouth became purple. This time, Godzilla fired a concentrated purple laser from his mouth. Lacanage pulled her antimatter shield in time, but when the atomic ray hit the force field, it held enough force to push the bird higher up and across the air. Lacanage slammed against one of the giant floating metal balls, her antimatter shield carving itself within the metallic frame. After Godzilla's new weapon vanquished, Lacanage could still see the tremendous heat. Tremendous heat. She let down her shield and dived down to this new area of the lost city. Pass.
Godzilla marched through the burning ruins, making his way towards Lacanage. The giant bird landing on her feet and saw Godzilla coming out of the seer's fire. After Godzilla stopped moving, he concealed his eyes and suddenly spat out another heat laser at Lacanage. But this time, Lacanage flew up in the air and evaded the purple beam, with Ray only targets being two hollow structures. Godzilla ceased fire as Lacanage flew over him. He was going to turn around to face the space monster. However, Lacanage used his talons to grab Godzilla's back. Godzilla howled as he felt the talon cutting into his back. Carcagne used her immense strength and dragged Godzilla across his feet with his feet hitting the ground. Carcagne slammed Godzilla into a building, loosening her grip of his back. The reptile collapsed, his weight crashing the structure. Carcagne landed on top of a building and looked down at the fallen Godzilla. As the rubble stirred, Godzilla noticed there was a floating metal ball above the space buzzard. Igniting his atomic ray once more, he fired his laser beam at the metal ball and sliced the round object in half. Carcagne looked up and saw the two halves were going to fall on top of her. The bird monster didn't have time to fly away, so he activated her antimatter shield to protect her. The two halves fell on Carcagne, bringing the building sewers on down as well as destroying the surrounding structures. When Godzilla got back up, he saw Carcagne was buried in rubble from the destroyed buildings and the metal sphere. Godzilla waited for Carcagne to come out of the rubble, but nothing was happening. The Saurus walked towards the buried fowl. When Godzilla got close to the rubble, Carcagne's first advert jumped on the lizard. Carcagne used her beak to bite into Godzilla's neck, while using her talons to cut away the reptile's stomach and wings to beat against his body. Godzilla screeched as he shook his body to get Carcagne off him, but the space monster refused to let go of him. The red and charcoal Kaiju was able to use his small and short arms to grab Carcagne with his nails, cutting into the giant bird. Carcagne ignored the pain as he continued to press for attacking Godzilla. Godzilla used his long tail to wrap around Carcagne's neck and pulled the alien fiend off his body. The Saurus then used his tail to swing Carcagne behind him, slamming the space buzzard into the ground repeatedly. After that, Godzilla began to spin around to lock Carcagne in a tight grip until he unwrapped his tail from the bird's neck, which sent her spinning across the ground. Pass.
Where are we at?
After Carcagne's got to her feet.
Okay, thank you. Also, I just looked it up. We've been mispronouncing it the whole time.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, the one Giant Claw fan that's probably listening to this is probably going to be really angry at us.
Probably.
What?
After Carcagne.
Oh,
Did you say
Carcagne?
Lacagne?
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. Carcagne.
Carcagne.
Lacagne.
Oh, right.
Jesus, god damn.
Gosh darn it. Carcagne? Ah.
Carcagne or something like that.
Gosh darn it. Well,
I don't know
Nagoda, you could pronounce it right moving forward.
Yeah.
After Carcagne got to her feet, she saw Godzilla hunched over horizontally and running toward her. It was an absurd sight to her, but she also knew the hit would be lethal. Carcagne used her wings to propel herself into the air. With the battery ramming Godzilla zipped past where she once stood. Nothing could be done as Godzilla ended up crashing against the empty skyscraper and was buried underneath the collapsing structure. Carcagne, I cannot pronounce this, flew down towards Godzilla and used her talons to grab his exposed tail. The space bird, despite her outward fragility, was actually incredibly strong. Snagged the tail and carried Godzilla up into the sky. Although she had wanted to spin-toss Godzilla in the same manner he did to her, Godzilla's immense weight was too much for her to handle. So, she released Godzilla's tail, sending the reptile falling toward the ground. Godzilla remained silent during his drop, as he crashed into the former cityscape below. Carcagne flew down towards the downed reptilian to attack him, but was suddenly struck out of the air by Godzilla's hard-hitting tail. Godzilla's back sparked with a purple glow. All the while, the flying battleship put up her antimatter shield. Pillars of atomic light shot out of the Godzilla's back, striking against the barrier. When the lasers hit La Carcagne's antimatter shield, the beam pushed her through the air. The stray beams destroyed the surrounding skyscrapers and metallic covering spheres, burning all in its path. As the dozens of atomic rays dissipated, the space buzzard dropped her barrier. It was expending her energy to sustain against such a violent attack. So when the shield fell, she did too, crashing into the earth below. Like Carcagne laid on her back as the nightmare's monstrosity approached. He stood over her, glaring at her with unflinching eyes of cold indifference. Godzilla raised his foot up and began stomping away at La Carcagne's weakened body. La Carcagne, he used this too much, shrieked in agony. Each stomped to her body, crushing her bones and internal organs. Using every ounce of her strength, she summoned another antimatter shield to her aid. Godzilla's foot bounced off the shield, causing the sword to lose his balance and fall onto his back.
Kanye got back onto her feet and turned off her force field. Now, with Godzilla down on the ground, Kanye jumped onto his body and used her talons to cut away at Godzilla's body. Now she would inflict upon him the pain he brought her. Godzilla could feel his abdominal was being torn apart, yet chose to remain quiet while Kanye kept mauling Godzilla. He swung his tail to hit her in the back. However, Kanye saw the tail in time and used her painful wings to fly up as the tail harmlessly bounced off Godzilla's thick armor. Even in her ravaged state, Kanye used her talons to grab the end of Godzilla's tail and used her wings to fly backwards. Godzilla only emitted a small grunt as he was being dragged across the sandy ground by Kanye. While Kanye had Godzilla's tail in her talons, the tip of the tail was pointing at her stomach. Godzilla's body ignited with a purple hue, but she knew none of his beams could hit her at the vantage point she was at. From his spine, a purple glow crawled upon his elongated tail until it surrounded the bony, meat-like tail tip. Fired an atomic ray from the tail, and the laser tore into Kanye's stomach and came out of her back. Kanye hollered in screeching misery as blood shot out of her mouth. After Godzilla ended the purple beam, Kanye fell to the ground onto her back in uttermost anguish. Godzilla rose up and gazed down at Kanye. Using his tail, he shoved it into Kanye's open mouth. Kanye's nerves were still reeling from the immeasurable pain to notice, and even if she had the blood loss and sap strength would have prevented her from fighting back. Godzilla then used the strength of his tail to send Kanye in the air. The dinosaur fired his Jesus Christ, kill me. The dinosaur fired his devastating killer blow from his tail as the laser came out of the back of Kanye's head. The darkness took over Kanye's vision as the bird's life came to an end. After Godzilla ended his atomic ray, he threw Kanye's corpse and set the dead buzzer crashing to the ground. Godzilla roared in victory as he finally beat Kanye, but Godzilla's victory was cut short as he could feel his body was overheating from the amount of energy he expanded during the fight. Godzilla fell into a state of hibernation as his body stiffened to let his body cool. In Godzilla's mind, while he knew he won, he was still on this alien world. Once Godzilla awakened, he would start a search for who or what sent him to this deserted planet, and hopefully find his way back to his homeworld, Godzilla Shin.
Like La Carcagne West, am I right? Okay.
Yep.
I'll send myself home on that one. This one was not particular. You want to know the sad part? The real sad part? This is the improved version that I had to change up.
This is the what?
Improved
It's
version.
the improved version, apparently.
Like, I had to modify it. I remember, I don't remember what I changed up exactly, but I knew, like, there was a lot, like, this one I know I went in and changed up a lot of the tensing, so, you know, hopefully it was a lot more consistent than, maybe, I'm sure some of it still slipped through, but, like, I remember this one I actively went in and just changed it to be better. And even now, looking back on it, it's still like, this one was still not great. It repeats the monsters' names way too many times. Freaking, I don't know. The premise is kind of neat. Like, you know, the set, like the monsters and the like setting are neat. Like, that's an interesting set of characters and set of circumstances to have them in. But you don't really get too much elaboration on like I guess you don't need like an elaboration on two monsters fighting on an alien planet. You know, it's just like you just roll with it. But even then, I feel like there's just not really a whole lot that meaningfully goes on in this fight. It's just sort of there. It's like the last one where it was just a fight, and you know that's always fine and good. But there's, I don't know, this one just really didn't doesn't really hold up as well as it should. And also, I think Carcagne's like her antimatter shield, I don't think is something she could turn on and off. I think that is something more similar to Phileas's Godzilla Earth's permeable shield. It's something that's always there until you find like the weakness or the antimatter formula to negate it, or something like that. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, even that, like, I was willing to run with that at the time, just because it was like, to completely restructure the match to where that was consistent was just, I wasn't up to it. I was just like, I just need the Shin Godzilla match for Shin Month, and lo and behold, this is what we got.
Downsize it, you should have.
Yeah. Freaking day. But freaking, yeah, no, I think this is definitely the...
Oh, actually...
Oh. I was going to say definitely the weakest of the Shin Month entries so far, unfortunately. So, but GVR, I'll pass it to you. You say what you're going to say.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, first of all, that Giant Claw can actually drop the shield.
Oh.
Yeah, she does it when she's eating.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, never mind. I'm a clown. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Yeah. Well, what else is new?
But yeah,
that's where Bacon gets it from.
Yeah, that's why he's my son. Anyway.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, go ahead, GVR. Yeah, you can take over.
This match is definitely the weakest of Shintember.
Oh.
Like, last match was short and there wasn't really a whole lot to it, but it was still, like, entertaining and it was written passably. This one, on the other hand, the names repeat so often, and the fight itself is just... There's not really a whole lot going on that's entertaining with this one. Like, I just don't care for this match, even on the level of just a fight match. I do enjoy those matches usually, but this one just doesn't even reach that low standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I guess there was no saving this one. Alex, what'd you think of it?
It was dull. It was boring. Wanted it to end.
Well, good news.
That's all I have to say.
Good news, man. It ended. It ended.
Good.
Birdman, what'd you think of it?
I hate this match. I hate it with all my being.
Holy shit!
It doesn't. It has no sense of proper right. Like this back and forth between. No incentives flow together. So back and forth, just one thing. There's no variation. It's boring. It's just poorly put together. No, I do not like it.
Jeez. Ooh. Yeah, I know. Really. Ugh. Yeah. Nagoda, what'd you think of it?
It's a lot worse than I originally thought. Than when I first read it. Still, going off what I commented down here, it still does use the word source a lot, but for another time, it also uses the names way too much. What? But yeah, it uses like Carcagne way too much in this. Like, you could have replaced it with like
even like
Giant Claw or Space Bird, or the big battleship monster or something like that.
Yeah, no, this one. Yeah.
Yeah, because it gets really repetitive really fast.
Carcagne is in this match over 70 times.
Jeez. Holy
Dang.
Pain.
moly.
So, in short, thank you, Kaiju X and Grey Shot, for now having standards
You're,
for the KWC and E.
yes.
Oh, thank God for that.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind on that. I always trying to shoot up the standard, like trying to shoot just
It's
trying.
just shoot up Venom.
Yeah, no, this should have been better. It should have been better. My gosh.
I feel like I've been shot up because I read this match.
I think we can all unanimously say this was dull, boring, and bad. And with that said, this has been KWCE number 26, and we will see you guys next time for the Shin Timber finale. Look forward to that one. In the meantime, see you guys next time.